Up there or down there?
Pro, at the Rock. It was incredible. Easily the most diverse hockey game I've ever attended. For, not exaggerating, almost
Not really, right? Oh, he's on the phone.
Tina, I'm here.
Hi, Ken, thank you. We didn't hear you
Yeah, I've been here
before.
for
We're just
10
waiting,
minutes.
we're waiting for IT.
Okay.
We're recording.
Sports game over.
Commercial's over. All right. Everybody ready? All right, good morning. Welcome to Northampton County General Purpose Authority meeting on this Tuesday, January 9th, 2024. Sarah, can you please take roll?
Sure. Mr. Anthony.
I'm here.
Mr. Derdinger.
Here.
Ms. Pearson.
Here.
Mr. Kraft.
Here.
Ms. Vargo Hefner.
Here.
Mr. Donchez.
Here.
Mr. Colando is excused. And then we have Solicitor Kelhart and myself, Tina, and Dawn from staff.
All right, thank you, Sarah. All right, next item is the annual meeting election of officers. In 2.0, you have the current officers and the nominations.
Floor is open for other nominations if
Do I have-
anyone so
Do I have to say that
desires.
3 times or just once? Is that okay?
If I may offer, before we do that, as my signature may become more difficult to obtain, working out of this area, if Mr. Kraft is amenable to it, I would swap with him. So you could come in and sign, Mr. Kraft?
Yeah, I'm okay with it, Charles, because I'm just down the street from Tina when she needs a signature.
There you go.
That works easier.
So do we have to make that as a motion to amend? Or no?
Yes.
I would make that motion to amend.
All right, so Charles made the motion. I heard Ron second that.
I'll second.
All right, so Charles will be the vice chair and Ken will be the secretary. Any other nominations?
I motion to approve the slate as amended.
Thank you, Lori. I need a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Pam. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is approval of the minutes, and that was from the November 14th meeting. It was in your packet. If everybody had a chance to review that, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Lori. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Pam. Any questions on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So, Sarah, assuming there's no public comment?
No public comment.
All right, thank you. Ron, Treasurer's Report.
Okay, you have that in front of you for the year end 2023. Our balance sheet, we show cash and cash equivalents of $426,952.41. Our receivables added on give us total assets of $807,369.77. Liabilities $250,000 gives us a beginning fund balance of $511,927.99, and our net expenses for the year we'll talk about shortly was $54,558.22, which gives us an ending fund balance of $457,369.77. The next page is the income statement for year end December 31st, 2023. The general fund, CPA general fund shows revenues for the year $8,935.88. Our total expenditures were $63,494.10, which gave us, expenses over the revenues of $54,558.22. And the last page is always our flow-through account, which is the capital projects account, and you'll see our incoming revenues were at $3.709 million in change in revenues, and the offsetting expense of the same amount gives us our ending net balance of $0. Any questions?
Any questions for Ron?
No.
Need a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Lori. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Charles. Any questions on that motion? All right, seeing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Invoices for payment. Sarah, can you walk us through that, please?
Sure. So in the packet is the list of invoices for payment along with backup documentation. We have Shea, Santee, Kelhart, and Deschler for a total of $945 for legal services. Alfred Brennish and Company, a total of $3,142.64. New Jersey Advanced Media, which was the publication of our 2024 meeting dates, for $154.44. And then our 2023 fourth quarter payment to Northampton County DCED for administrative services for $15,786.98 for a total of $20,029.06.
All right, thank you. Any questions? All right, seeing none, I need a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Lori. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Pam. Any questions on that motion?
I do.
Sure.
I understand there may be some P3 bills coming. Has that been conveyed to?
They're on the agenda.
Okay, well then I will stop that and,
You're, preempting Greg's
was.
report there. He looks excited
about
to
that.
be up here, doesn't he?
sorry about that.
I have a,
Sure.
well, I guess I have a question about the invoices. So King Spry is the past year, right?
Yes.
And then, how are we with, who was our special counsel? Are we done with
We
payments to
haven't-
them?
We've had no other expenses with them.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
All right, need a motion to approve, please.
I think we moved.
think we
Oh, I'm
did.
sorry, that
We
was
just need to call the vote.
questions. All right. No further questions? Thank you, Charles. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I caused the confusion.
And I think, Lori, and then we have invoices to date. Is that what you're referencing?
Well, it was kind of combined because I
Okay.
No,
just wondered
I
if
made a
we.
mess, so-
Nope.
No. I wondered if we were going to have any outstanding to them or if we were still continuing to pay them, but you answered.
Right. Well, I see, Watt Teeter, last bill was May 5th,
Okay.
so. All right, and again, item invoices to pay to date is 5.3, and that's for information only. All right, Greg.
Well, not yet.
I'm sorry.
We have these other invoices first. So Mr. Emili is going to come up and speak to, we have an invoice from the city of Bethlehem, and then for their water line relocation, and then the emergency sinkhole repair, both at Bridge 124.
Yes, good morning. Mike Emili, Public Works Director for the county. As Sarah alluded to, this first invoice with the city of Bethlehem is for Bridge 124. It has the unfortunate distinction of running directly above one of the main transmission lines for the city of Bethlehem's water supply. It's a 30-inch pipe. So we had a lot of discussions early on in the project in terms of how to handle that utility, and it was ultimately determined with the city that it would be in our best interest to just relocate it off to the side of the bridge rather than trying to work around the existing pipe. So back in September, the city and the county reached an agreement in which the county would be responsible for 50% of the city's costs for relocating the line. We did receive the first invoice from the city of Bethlehem, which covers the test pits that they needed to dig, it's partial or some of the engineering work that was required, as well as various pipe fittings that they needed to order. So this first invoice in the amount of $92,000, this represents the county's portion of the work performed to date.
And this is just half.
Yes.
Half so far.
So far.
The city their estimate is around $740,000 total to relocate the line. So the county's portion would be $350 roughly.
Yeah, this has been the problem with this project from the very onset. There were so many unknown costs that were part of this that,
This is completely excessive and, I mean, it has to be.
One of the bridges that Mike and I and Watita removed from the project had a north to south fiber optic transmission line attached to it. We were looking at over $1 million cost for a bridge that was a concrete arch bridge that would probably only be good for maybe another 40 years. So, that was one of the reasons it was so important. That by itself, was more expensive than moving the city of Bethlehem's water line. So, yeah.
But we're talking about 700,000 probably total cost?
That would be the city's cost. We'd be,
City's cost,
So
yeah,
half of that
350.
is,
350.
which is not even anywhere.
Yeah, so, and Charles made mention of it that there's unknown cost, obviously, in utility, so I'm assuming that's why that wasn't written into the contract, that the contractor would be responsible for that. He threw that back on the county.
I believe that's the case, yes.
And that contract work is being done by a third party. It's not being done by Krieger.
Right, yeah, I looked at the invoices, I did see that.
Because it's out of the scope of their project?
Well out of the scope. And for all of the problems and circumstances that go along with the water line and supplying water to the city of Bethlehem, it's not really something that's a specialty contractor, and we want to make sure that everyone wants to make sure that there's no interruption.
But where does that put us financially? Because this is,
The county reimburses that.
Yeah,
And so we have known that this cost was, going to be on the horizon for a few years now. So I did increase the budget for the utility relocation expenses in last year's budget, which I think would cover this invoice. So we do have the money available to do so.
so Mike, was that for all the bridges that you budgeted for, or just like this particular, because this is an excessive cost, this is a cost?
Yeah, what I would typically do is I would look at whatever bridges were on the P3 schedule for the upcoming year and put together a rough estimate on how I felt the utility cost would be. To date, it's mostly been fairly minor with just relocating the aerial utilities. But I did know that this would be a larger
Okay.
cost, and I upped that number in the budget.
Yeah, you're right, we've noticed utility costs in it were not, I'm not gonna say nominal, but reasonable, understandable.
Yeah, generally under 100,000 per site, so this is definitely the largest to date.
is there anything else that's coming up that we need to know about at this level?
Well, I think it's 101 and 124 are at the end of the project for the reasons of their complexities. And 101 had
Railroad involvement.
railroad, and initially, we were facing a sinkhole there as well. So there was a lot to be done there as well. That's how they both got to be at the end here.
Are there any other entities that could help support or supplement these projects, like in the state, that could help with these costs? I mean, it's not our issue, but it's a county issue, but it's overall everyone's issue, that these are pretty excessive costs.
Yeah,
Not aware of any.
yeah, we pursued many opportunities, but they're pretty much all rolls back into, because a lot of these bridges originally had been on the tip and then taken off the tip for this project, we have very little to look back on. It winds up being a county cost only.
So let me ask a question. I'm sorry, Paul,
No,
but
that's
if
okay.
this wasn't a P3 issue, and it was just still the county bridge, would the county be responsible for that? Or would Bethlehem be responsible for theirs and the county theirs? Like, what would, if this was not on this particular contract?
We would have pursued the same arrangement with a cost-sharing agreement with the city.
Okay, thank you.
The best for us would have been in the contractor responsible for all utility relocations. That would have been the best.
That would have been ideal,
Right.
yes.
That's- Yeah, so, no, we're not building any more bridges.
Water
Joanne,
under the
that's it.
bridge or not?
Yeah, this is it. All right.
Off to the side now.
I'm about to say.
And
All around.
I failed to note it on the agenda, but, so we're going to need a motion to approve.
Well, I saw that.
I assumed, you want to take them one at a time?
But, yeah, so we'll just, because you're estimating 700,000, right? So we should do this, was it 92,000?
I think we just pay the
Pay what you have.
invoice that's in front of us.
Yes.
I'll make
right.
the motion to pay the invoice in front of us.
All right, it'll be $92,742.78. Charles made that
I
motion.
second.
All right, thank you, Ken. Any other questions on that motion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Aye. Motion carries. And then you have another one, Mike, for the sinkhole repair?
Yes, so back in October, November timeframe, we cleared the trees that were in the area of the utility relocations at Bridge 124. At that time, it became apparent to us that there was a sinkhole that was located in very close proximity to where the proposed routing for the new gas line and the city's water main was. So we had to take steps to try to mitigate the sinkhole. So Greg had recommended the company Lehigh Concrete Technologies. They do a lot of sinkhole mitigation within our area. They provided an initial estimate to us of $55,000. Unfortunately, due to the nature of sinkholes, it's very difficult to estimate the extent of the sinkhole until you really start excavating it out and trying to locate the throat. So they quite quickly surpassed that initial estimate of $55,000. They excavated a hole of roughly 20 feet by 20 feet by 20 feet deep, and they were still unable to locate the throat of the sinkhole. At that point, they installed a concrete pad over the area of the excavation. They backfilled it to grade. They drilled, I believe it was 13 holes for grout point injections, and they proceeded to fill those holes with low mobility grout to help compact and stabilize the area. So unfortunately, it did require a couple additional days on site, additional excavation work, obviously additional material for the grout. So there was a separate invoice in the amount of $63,007.50, which represents the total additional cost above the $55,000 initial estimate.
All right, so total for the invoice is $118,007.50.
Correct.
And that's assumed by the county, and we don't split that with the city?
Correct.
Okay, and is that final?
Yes.
Until we start working on the bridge and maybe a sinkhole's good?
Well, that's
I
my
hate
question.
to be a
Because you
pessimist.
sinkhole remediate, but what's the probability that it could recur or settle and cause another, like, is it done? I mean, they can't really guarantee their work, can they?
Well,
They
it's
can-
unknown. We don't know. You don't.
They can't guarantee that we won't run into any more problems, but I mean, we can at least say we took every possible step to resolve a known issue here.
Right, but, and if I understand, this isn't really where the bridge is at, it's just a little bit off.
Correct,
Right,
yes.
so we didn't even start,
It's within Wayne Grube Park.
okay, so we didn't really even start for the bridge construction yet. All right,
I thought Christmas was last month.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
I know.
all right, and so Mike, this is final bill, we get a certification,
Yes, this is the final bill.
okay. All right, I need a motion to approve the bill to Lehigh Concrete Technologies for $118,007.50.
So moved.
Thank
I'll
you.
make that motion.
Thank you for seconding it, Ken. Lori made the motion, Ken seconded it. Any other questions on that motion? All right, seeing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
We'll-
Thank you, Mike.
Yes, thank you, Mike. We'll note the lack of enthusiasm.
No, it's just painful,
It-
right?
Yes, and, you know, sinkholes are just money pits.
We're one step closer to the end.
We thank you for being an optimist.
There she goes.
All right, Bridge, anything else? That should be it for invoices that we need paid. All right, thank you, Sarah. Bridge update, Greg? So we already took care of 6.1 and 6.2.
Morning, everybody.
Greg.
Good morning.
Everybody have a copy of the status report?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, just double checking. It's happened once, so. So Bridge 124. So GPI has been coordinating with utility companies. You already heard about the city of Bethlehem. But there's also work that has to be done by UGI, Verizon, PPL, Service Electric. All that's ongoing as well, too. The city of Bethlehem, I noted last meeting about a waiver request from the Fish and Boat Commission. They did get that waiver, so that's why they were able to start work. And they'll be working under the stream between January 29th and February 9th. So the GPI is putting together a status call to get everybody on board, make sure everybody's knows what's going on. But the goal is to have this work done by end of the stream restriction April 1st. So hopefully April 2nd, Krieger's able to go in there to start working on the bridge. They did note at the last status meeting that they're not going to start work until utility relocation is completed. GPI submit detour plans to PennDOT. They've been approved. And they also sent to Allen Township for their file because we had a call with Allen Township a few weeks ago or months ago now, I guess it is. And they requested, they just know where the detour is going to be. So we should be in good shape there. So everything is progressing on 124 as long as the utilities keep moving along.
So on 124, how long, what's the timeline for the construction?
Well, it's got to be done by the end of the year.
Right, well, yes, they have to be
Yes.
completed by the end of the year.
Yes, and they're well aware. They've been told in multiple status meetings. It's doable. I mean, me and Mike have seen it done on another bridge in Northampton County, so it's doable.
Oh, I have no doubt it's doable.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's it for Bridge 124. Bridge 101, GPI submitted their permit back in November, which I think I noted previously. They're currently discussing Norfolk Southern regarding coordination needed for construction. As of our last status call, they're not planning on doing any work within Norfolk Southern right away. They're working from the other side of the stream. So hopefully it's just a formality that everybody's on the same page and the railroad knows what's going on, but there's no proposed impacts right now to their property. Construction is expected to begin in June once the stream restriction is done and be completed in September. They are currently also working on reviewing shop drawings from Contact for the metal arch liners that are going around the arches. So things are progressing fine there. Right-of-way plans have been submitted to us. We approve them, and Mike's going to start reaching out to the property owner about a temporary easement. There's only one property owner worried about it with a temporary easement. That's it. So Bridge 101's moving good. Jump into construction at Bridge 41. We heard from PPL last week that the temporary utility poles have been removed from the site. Krieger has already contacted the property owner, and they've been going back and forth about getting a meeting set up so he can finally resolve the last few punch list items. Also, I noted before about the end wall that has fallen over. Krieger's still looking into that. As our last call, they said they'll be working on that this week and hopefully get that resolved.
Can you explain, end wall is just rock? Is that
It's
what it is?
a piece of it's a concrete. It's a concrete precast item at the end of a pipe just to protect the fill, so the fill doesn't go into the
Fill
stream.
over.
Yes. From a storm event.
Got tired.
You don't expect, but, all right.
And then lastly, at Bridge, well, not lastly, but last for construction, at Bridge 54, I noted at the last meeting that about the stormwater pipe that went in. We were not at the site when it happened. So I have been in touch with another contractor per discussion from the board here. And they're currently working to get that riprap removed, get the debris moved from the pipe, check the connection, and they're coordinating with Med Ed as well, because there's a guy wire right there next to the pipe. So I had a phone call with the contractor yesterday, and they're working on that as we speak. Last thing,
Do you have an idea when that would be completed, or just, is that like?
as soon as I go, it's getting a hold of Med Ed. The two contacts of Med Ed left to go to work at one of their subsidiaries in New Jersey. So we're just trying to get a call with them. But once they get that worked out, they should be pretty quick.
All right.
They're ready to go. Lastly, on Bridge 219, we heard from the property owner, and we saw some photos that there's some locations of depressions in the pavement. So this is a maintenance item for Krieger. They're aware of it. We mentioned at our last status call, and I'll keep you updated when that gets resolved.
Thank you.
All right, just backing up to 54 again.
Yeah.
Because that will be a deduct from the payment. Do we have a sense of cost from them, or?
I do not, but I can ask them for it.
Yeah, we're gonna need that so that the deduction is appropriate for what we do there.
Yep.
And additionally, I would suggest, we've been talking about this end wall 9
A few
months.
months. It's been a while.
Would it be, within their ability, this other company to repair or reset that end wall and get that all done? And they're right up the road from each other, so they're gonna be out there. If Krieger has advised several times during the calls that they were gonna get on it, and it just hasn't happened. So you know, if we're doing this before we make the year-end payment or the next year's payment, we should probably have this all buttoned up, so that we can make the deduction and keep everything clean and straight.
Yeah, I can reach out to them. That's fine.
Thank you.
Yep. Any questions?
Any questions for Greg?
Well, a generic one. So a lot of these roads like are in the maintenance, like you said, the 219, so can we talk about how that works? Because does that start on the date of the completion and then it's 10 years from the date of completion of each bridge?
The contract has actually changed from what the original contract was. So in our contract settlement, it's 10 years from the contract settlement. Even
So
for
what's that date, do you remember?
21, 22? It's somewhere in that.
So assuming that it's 21 for the sake of discussion, so then all of the bridges will be maintained for the next 10 years from that date?
Till 31. Unless they were completed prior to that and they were 10 years already. So if you had a completed bridge in 17, that will be 27, not 31.
I don't think we do.
Yeah, we
gonna
do.
say that-
The first bridge was done in 17, and then 18, we saw 4 or 5 bridges, and I'm doing this from memory, but I bet he has
The only
dates
one on
here.
the list is 18.
Yeah, there's one from
157.
18, 3 from 19, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 from 20, and a few from 21.
So those would just all fall in their 10-year, and then nothing
28,
goes
29.
beyond 30, I believe it's 31. And I'm just excited because I didn't think we had any circumstances where maintenance would kick in, so that's good work.
Are you optimistic about, maybe that's the wrong word, hopeful about the completion of, it sounds like you're hopeful about 101, staying on target.
Yeah, 101's
What
going fine.
about 124?
As long as utilities move out of the way, I think they'll be okay. I mean, it's a matter of getting these utilities moved. And assuming we find no other depressions in the ground.
UGI has been following through.
We've heard from them, yeah. Haven't had a definitive date yet, but we've heard from them.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Greg? Hey, thank you, Greg.
Thanks, yep.
Next item is new business and staff report. Sarah?
So Joanne and I were on a kickoff meeting yesterday. St. Luke's is looking to do a bond issuance in March. This would be majority new money, and then they're looking at possibly refunding some other ones. But the new money is 200.
Refunding or refinancing?
Refunding, right?
Well, yeah, they had a mix.
They had a whole bunch of stuff, yeah.
Different vehicles that they were gonna be using, but it looks as if they're going to be refunding.
Refunding, okay.
Yeah, but the new money is 225 million, and it's primarily for the Anderson campus. So that's about 450,000 for the GPA, if my calculations are correct.
And
So-
we're looking for March for that, right?
Actually, well, they're kind of all over the place, and it's going really fast. Probably next month, they're gonna be here, they're gonna come to the meeting, and then we'll probably sign in March,
March, okay.
yeah.
They're fast tracked.
Yeah, it was supposed to be later in the year, but financing terms are looking more favorable, so they're fast tracking it now, so.
All right.
And then other than that, I left you, everyone a copy of the statement of financial interest form. You can do the paper copy, you can go online, I highlighted it, the website. Pam already did hers, because she had to do it for Tatamy, she's on top of it.
Sure.
Yeah, I
And
know, there's always one.
just a reminder, they're due May 1st.
All right.
That was
Noted,
all
May
I
1st.
had.
Any update on Glendon? No?
Application's in progress, so it's sitting at the state awaiting a funding announcement.
Okay, well, that's as far as we can take it for right now then.
That's all we can do is hope and pray
Right,
Any dead timeline option on that?
with the state now. Good luck.
all right.
conversations have been favorable, so we're. I don't wanna
Cautiously?
jinx myself, but we're pretty confident we should get something,
Right,
some kind of funding.
sure. All right, anything else? New business? All right, seeing none, next meeting is Tuesday, February 6th, 8:15 here in the chamber. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Lori. We're adjourned.
Fun.